Hello there everyone, would you like to know a couple of different tricks for foiling onto felt? Well, you have come to the right place today. Today we are going to be playing with adding some foil to felt in two different ways, one with heat and one without. I'm really glad you're here and I really hope that you enjoy today's video. So first up, I am going to take a piece of double-sided adhesive. So this is from Altenew and I'm trying to cut this down to size of this foil that I have here. So this is the Enchanted Gold foil from Altenew and it's just 5 inches wide. So I am going to cut my double-sided adhesive so it's going to fit the foil sheet. You can cut it smaller if you want to, but I do find that this is the best way to kind of get the most out of your foil. So once I have that, I've unraveled the foil on my desk, as you can see, and I find the easiest way to do this is to add the double-sided adhesive on top of that. You can see that I've just added a little bit of a flap to the back of the double-sided adhesive, so the adhesive is showing on just a little bit. Once I have that lined up, I can then kind of pull up the rest of the double-sided adhesive sheet and then pull off the backing, and I find that's the best and easiest way to add the foil to double-sided adhesive. So then you could use this to die cut sentiments if you wanted to, but we're going to use it to do other things. Once you have added the foil to the adhesive, you are going to need to kind of burnish that down just to make sure that everything's all nice and stuck. Once that's done, I can then just kind of trim off this piece, and then we have our roll that I'm going to pop back in the packaging, and then we have this beautiful piece of foil here ready to go. So once I have that, we're then going to die cut this. I'm going to be using the layered Snowflake Stars cover die A, but you could use whichever background cover die that you have. And I'm just going to add that into place, and I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine. As this is pretty delicate, you are going to want to be very careful. And as you can see, I've just pulled off a separate piece of copy paper just from behind. I do find that adding a sheet or two of copy paper underneath a delicate die really does help it cut a lot better. So if you're having trouble with it, just add a little bit of copy paper, fold it in half, add it through, and it will help the die cut a little bit crisper. Okay, so I am going to be using the rest of that sheet that we have there, again using the layered Snowflake Stars A to add that into place. You can use all these pieces on a background if you wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the positive space for this one. I'm then going to remove the backing from our double-sided adhesive. Now we have this really beautiful foiled kind of pattern here, and I'm just going to add my foil just on the back of this. Now you can cut all your little foil pieces into this kind of size that you want and then pop it down. Or you can just use whatever scraps that you have. It's completely up to you. Just grab all your foils, grab some greens, grab some floral colors, and you're good to go. Just pop them down. Make sure that you do kind of press them down firmly, but don't worry too much if it's not completely stuck. When you do die cut these with your dies, it does kind of press it closer, the foil closer into the foil, so it's going to stick together that way. So I am then adding some purple and some pinks onto this one, just a little bit of trim just to make sure everything's stuck nicely. So once I have all of the foil or the foil stuck to my felted foil, I'm then going to take some dies to die cut them. I'm actually just using a coordinating die set. So this is the Folksy Florals Die Set. So it matches the stamp set, but I do find that these kind of images here work really well just for layering die cuts. So as you can see, the foil has been pressed more into that felt because we've used the die cutter, and it's nice and flat now. So I'm just going to move those over to the side. So that was our first way of doing the foiling on felt, but that time was without heat. This time we're going to be using some heat. So I have my hot foiling machine and it's nicely heated up with my Chevron hot foil plate nicely on the hot foil plate, nicely and warm. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to place some foil down. Again, this is the Enchanted Gold from Altenew. I'm pasting that shiny side down, then add in my little felt pieces into place, and then add in a couple of shims just to make sure that this foils properly. Remember, do not use shims if you do not need to. You don't want to force your machine through your die cutting machine. Okay, so once that's done, once this nicely has cooled down, I'm just going to gently remove that foil. Now, as you can see, this is a little less bright, a little bit more dull than the other one this time because it's kind of stuck into the foil. It's more compressed rather than the other one. I'm going to do exactly the same technique for the greens as well. So I then have my greens all nicely foiled too. Once that's done, I'm happy with the amount of foil I have foiled. I'm then going to add the dies into place and I'm going to cut out all of my images. So I have all of my die cuts, my beautiful felt foiled die cuts ready. And you can see the difference between the two. The one we've used, the heat, has more of a vintage kind of look to it. And then the one we used with the double-sided adhesive is much crisper and cleaner that way. I'm just going to use the Chevron hot foil plate again, just with some normal white cardstock, just to add a background to my cards. And I've just used the foil shiny side down, added some shims, and then run that through my die cutting machine to get this very pretty background panel, which I'm not actually going to use all of. So we're going to be able to use that for a couple of cards. I'm then going to take 2 sentiments from the Versatile Greetings hot foil plate set. Just make sure that my hot foil covers that. Again, I'm just using the Enchanted Gold for both the background and these sentiments here. Again, only use the kind of shims in your die cutting machine if you need them. So always check it out. Make sure that you're not forcing it through because we do not want you to break any of your machines. Once that's done, I'm going to take that background piece that we have and I'm just going to cut this into around about 3/4 of an inch strips. So I only need 2 of these and then I have all of that beautiful pattern for another card or 2 if I want. So I just have the strips to the side and I'm going to add those into place down the side of a 4¼ by 5½ white card base. I'm adding them to 2 different sides of the card bases, so the cards look slightly different with the 2 different felt foiled flowers that we have. Say that quickly a couple of times. And I'm just going to cut off any of the excess from the top and the bottom. I'm using the 1/2 inch ultra sticky tape from Altenew to pop these into the card panel. So once that's done, we can chop those ends off and then we're going to add in a further panel to kind of bring in a little bit of dimension. So this is 5½ by 3¾ and that's just going to add that onto the front of the card base, and I'm just adding some foam tape here just to add that dimension onto there. Once that's done, I have also done some more die cutting. So these are the stitched scalloped circles from Altenew, and I've used the largest one from the die set and I've just cut that twice. I do love the stitching around the outside of these. It really does add that really beautiful detail, just a little bit extra without taking too much from the design. So once I have my little die cuts ready, I'm then going to add the flowers together using some felt and foam glue. So I do recommend getting some glue, especially for felt, because felt's a bit of a tricky kind of thing to stick together, and I find that this felt and foam glue works really well. I'm just adding a little bit of that into place onto my little pieces and then adding the pieces into place. Once these have dried a little bit, I am then going to stick them down onto that little stitched panel that we have. And I'm just using the Altenew foam tape for that. So this does stick it really well onto cardstock, but I do trust the glue when it's going felt to felt. So I'm just going to add all these into place using some of the Instant Dimension foam tape from Altenew. Once that's done, I can add in the leaves. Again, I'm using that glue as before. You could use foam tape if you wanted to add a little bit more dimension. It's completely up to you. And I'm just adding clusters of leaves where I think are going to look good. As you can tell, I have added all of the same kind of foiling onto each of the clusters. So on the left, we have the heat foiled felt, and on the right, we have the no heat foiled felt. Okay. So once that's done, we can add our little panels, our little stitch panels into place onto the card base. I'm just adding them over the panel and also the stitch foiling on the side, I've then die cut the foiled sentiments that we had before from the Versatile Greetings die set, just to add that beautiful look there. You could also fussy cut them if you wanted to. For a little bit of dimension on these, I'm just going to use a little bit of the Instant Dimension foam tape just to pop those into place. So now we can see the difference between the two different foilings. So the one without heat I do find is more shinier than the one with heat. So it's completely up to you which way you want to go. I do think the one with the heat will be a little bit more robust though. It's completely up to you which way you want to go with these. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.
Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques, and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.